Thanks everyone for being here, and good afternoon, everyone. I see some names and faces that were already on some of the previous webinars. So thanks for coming back here in this virtual place. And thanks also for all the newcomers. We hope this might be an interesting sharing moment regarding experiences of territorial and let's say also spatial regeneration in rural areas across Europe. Maybe I introduce very shortly also that is hosting this cycle of webinars. Sorry for the most of you that maybe already know this, so I'll be short, but let's say Place Out, it's a Erasmus Plus project that started a little bit more than 1 year ago, and that basically connects 4 territories across Europe, rural or mountain areas that are somehow experiencing some regeneration activities led by youth organizations. And somehow the project tries also to work on this theme by connecting local institutions and youth grassroots organizations, and somehow by enhancing their dialogue for local development, and also to, as all Erasmus projects try to do, improve also their skill and capacities to really have this dialogue, to influence local development trajectories. Of course, more information you will find on the site of Place Out. We will copy it here in the chat for you also to check it out. And in the first year of the project, we ran some, I would say, research and local exploration activities. So we mapped some abandoned areas, we interviewed youth grassroots institutions in the area. We had a desk research on the 4 contexts we are working in, and we had some meetings across all project partners to really set up all activities. Now in this second year, we are really, I would say, on the run with all the trainings and really dialogue facilitation activities. And of course, together with these online webinars, we have 4 local trainings for youth grassroots organizations and local institutions. But somehow we want these webinars also to be an occasion for these 4 territories to have even a wider meeting with other similar experiences across Europe, and also with all other practitioners on youth development, space, regeneration, and I would say also advocacy and policy workers. Okay, so I'm quite sure there are some persons here coming from cities and with a more urban background. That's perfectly fine. I would say that's even enriching. Really, again, if you want to know more, you not only have the site, but you have also all our references. To just write us, contact us. But most importantly, we hope that you will be able to ask all questions or even share your stories and experiences in this same meeting, because this meeting is the second of 2 meetings dedicated to, let's say, territorial regeneration related with spatial space regeneration attempts, activities, okay? So in the first part with Riccardo Luciani from Lama, we had a more theoretical background, okay? So that was more like a frontal lesson, I would say, on this thematic. And now instead we want to have something very, very horizontal and open, okay? So of course we have 4 experiences that we will share that maybe might also help setting the scene. So of course we are glad to have here Chiara from Foglia Tonda. Chiara Manfriani from the association Foglia Tonda from Mugello area, so Tuscany area, Tuscany mountain area. Linda, I don't know if she joined meanwhile, but maybe she's joining in a few minutes. Yeah, I don't see her here. Linda is from Asociación Imora from Extremadura in Spain, Extremadura region. Then we are very happy to have here Andrea Pauletti from Casa Natural and Wonder Grottole and many other initiatives, in fact, but sorry if I surely forget some from Basilicata region, so southern part of Italy. And it's both rural and mountain, depending also on which part of Basilicata you're looking at. And then we have Galin Popov from Veliko Tarnovo. I don't know if I pronounce it right. Sorry if not. Bulgaria. And Galin is from TAM. There is a cultural space, I would say, first of all, and not only from Veliko Tarnovo. So Veliko Tarnovo is a small city in central Bulgaria area. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've never been there, unfortunately, but I've looked at it a little bit. And let's say these 4 experiences somehow really are a way to start a dialogue about this, I would say, cultural, territorial, spatial regeneration effort these 4 organizations had, and somehow also the impact they might have had on local growth, on identity, and in general on the life of local communities. So really the point is we start from these 4 examples. You will see they're quite different one from the other, but they also have many points related, I would say. And from these stories, then maybe I will ask some questions for the speakers, but please consider these questions also for you, meaning that if on some of these topics as participants you feel you have something to share, a reflection about, an additional question on that topic, just write it in the chat and we will, let's say, pass you the baton, okay? So you'll have the possibility then to intervene and participate in this roundtable. So again, we start with the 4 presentations. They'll be short, of course. So if you want to know more, I think all speakers here will be happy to give more references on the chat and even later through us. So that's it. I don't know if there are some questions, doubts, requests before we start. If not, seems not. By the way, always use the chat also if you want to communicate. If not, maybe we start from the first case. So Chiara from Associazione Foglia Tonda. Well, you'll present the association and its activities. Very briefly, I will say that here we are starting with something that I would say is festival and cultural programming based regeneration activity in a very internal, we would say in Italy, area of Mugello, okay? So in a very mountainy area, quite isolated places. And yeah, Foglia Tonda, round leaf for the ones who don't leaf, for the one that don't speak Italian. Please, Chiara.
Thank you, Dario. I hope you can see my presentation.
Yeah, absolutely, it works. Yeah.
So thanks everyone, but also Place Out for letting me present our project that is exactly a festival in the mountains close to Florence. Just to start with the people behind the Foglia Tonda. Yes, Foglia Tonda is a voluntary organization that was founded by mainly longtime friends and people who joined over the years. our main activities is indeed a festival that is usually organized on the second weekend of July. Some of us grew up in Razzuolo, that is the place where we are based, but others come from the Mugello Valley in general. We live either in Borgo San Lorenzo, that is the main town, or in other towns, or even in other regions because of our activities and jobs. So just to briefly introduce where is Razzuolo and where we are based. We are based at La Casa del Popolo, that is the property of the people of Razzuolo, and it hosts three associations, Fogliatonda included. Razzuolo is located northeast of Florence, that is a valley along the River Sieve, that is one of the case study of Place Out. It's based on the Apennine Mountains. We are in the municipality of Borgo San Lorenzo, but Razzuolo is a very small. The village suffered and is actually undergoing a period of change, mainly the population, and it suffers of lack of services. And as I told you, at this date, none of the 14 people actually from Fogliatonda actually lives there, although we are very fond of the place, of course. The context where Fogliatonda grows is indeed then the mountain region of Florence, that following the social and economical crisis that caused the massive depopulation of rural and mountain areas in the past 40 years, the central bone of Italy, the Apennini, that is also called La Montagna Minore, the smaller mountain in comparison, of course, to the Alps. Now a new phase is kind of beginning in this area where interest has become, has revived for these areas. Is usually done also through central government policies to fund tourism or related activities in this area, but also with solutions, let's say, to buy houses for a symbolic euro in these areas. But this type of interventions are not really helpful, I would say, in places like Razzuolo, that is a not very attractive for tourism village, and it suffers still lack of services. Razzuolo doesn't have any more a school for children as it used to have for a few decades ago, nor a local shop for grocery. And the doctor who used to come up only once a week is now retiring in a village where the average age is around 70 years old. In this context, my friend and I experimented with a lack of complexity in dealing with this type of issue, and we suffered a simplistic narrative about the tourist vocation of the Apennini. And also, we think that this narrative doesn't help in fixing practical issues, such, for instance, the lack of internet connection or the lack of a local market for the people living there. So we decided, we didn't really decide at the beginning, we found that our tool was a festival that connected people and other realities on the territory, based on let's say the topic we build the programs of our festival is the presidio, a term that translated from Italian means the defense, the protection, and that we decline as an alternative narrative, mainly through art in its many forms, literature, music, photography, and so on, to reflect on the dynamics of the return to the mountain as a resistant activity for the marginal communities of the Apennine Mountains. Fogliatonda was born in 2018 with the first event, and in 2023 counted its 6th edition, a 3-day event with concerts, talks, and walks in the surroundings. In 2022, the group was officially recognized as a volunteer organization, and we participated in a project organized by the municipality of Borgo San Lorenzo and the agency Lama, dedicated to training young people and co-design and planning for unused spaces and buildings. And that helped a lot for our expansion of the project, that was also filled with regional funds. that we won through the collaboration with the municipality in 2023. Speaking about collaboration and also the main topic of our festival, we want to talk to the resident community, the people living in Razzuolo and nearby, but also to the so-called temporary community, mainly who comes from far away to participate in the festival. People who could be interested in our vision and the narrative about the Appennini, but also just curious about our cultural program. We also want to be a reference point for the institutions and the other realities in Mugello and Tuscany to collect ideas and demands on the narrative on the Appennini. Also, during the years, Fogliatonda built a network of relations with other associations and groups active both in Mugello and Florence. And this brought a new energy to our activities. And we also became a group, a collective for artists that during the years populated our festival. This is a sort of vision that stands on 4 keywords that I wanted to share with you. The communities as the element in the life of small villages of our region to keep active the memory and the preservation of the territory. The villages actually, the 2 places where we base our festival, that they are the center to bring tensions to expand the possibilities and the needs of the communities. The festival as a ritual, a collective ritual of adoption of the territory between the communities, and art as a connector that waves the territory, the visitors and the residents to create new expressions and a new narrative of the Appennini. In this slide, you can also see some of the numbers about the festival, which counts visitors from the entire Mugello, but also Florence and the nearby city of Bologna and other parts of Italy as well, in collaboration with many people. In 2023, we counted over 600 people in the 3 days organized between Razzuolo and Casaglia, that is another very similar but also different village on the other side of the mountain. We had an artistic residence of 6 days with young artists from all over Italy. We could count also on the help of about 20 volunteers that stayed with us for the entire weekend. In 2024, we plan to expand the program of events, organizing other activities during the year, starting with revitalizing, for instance, 2 traditional events for the communities of Casaglia and Razzuolo, that is Lancio del Panforte that we held on the 6th of January. That is literally throwing a cake on a table, and the winner is the who throws it the furthest, but not making it fall from the table. It's a bit silly, but also very fun and very intergenerational as well. And we are going to have a picnic in the Easter Monday together with between Casaglia and Razzuolo on the mountain crest, where the 2 communities of the 2 villages are going to meet and celebrate together the day. Yeah, with this I conclude, but of course I'm here for any questions and for the discussion later on.
Thank you. Thanks, Chiara. I think we can move to Andrea, and maybe we'll really comment all cases after all presentations, so we can really also have some comparisons and really draw some parallels and differences between them. Yes, please, Andrea. I know you're sharing screen, so
yes, I will. Thank you. I think, can you see the screen? Okay, so hi everyone, and thanks Dario and also all the partner for selecting me to have me here. As Dario introduced me, I'm from Southern Italy, even if I'm not from here, but the projects are based in Southern Italy. And the 2 projects are Casanetro and Wonder Grottole. So both of the projects are connecting with the theme of regeneration. We are, as we said, in Matera, It was the European Capital of Culture in 2019, and we are based in a place in a flat in a building of 4 floors of in total 240 square meters. What is interesting and what is the core of all the projects are the connection between people. So the city of Matera is about 60,000 of inhabitants, and what we created is these things of having the local people connecting with people that are coming from all around the world through the typology of, let's say, accommodation that is called co-living. When I speak about co-living, is this new kind of lifestyle that stands with a place where to work and where to sleep, and also where to connect with the local community. So one of the keywords for all our regeneration projects and our connection, as I said before, but especially about sharing. These pictures, even if it's very simple pictures, but it's the kitchen, the moment of lunch, because we are in southern Italy, because the culture is Italian culture, but also because food is sharing. So around the table, all the stories, all the connection, all all the relationship starts. And so for us, the kitchen is the core of the building. So if I should advise someone about how to start also a new project, a new building that is start about regeneration, is also always having a moment of food sharing. The other part that is also important is that in this moment, when I didn't know the project Foglia Tonda, Chiara, and I like it very much. I like it especially because even if you were talking about small amounts of people, like 600 people for the festival, sometimes people, they say, oh, only 600 people. But the thing is that to connect in a specific place where no one goes, 600 people is a giant number. So I like also to always speak about these things about, for example, remote working, because nowadays more and more people are looking for new places where to go to leave the city, to find places where they can work quietly, but especially use their free time to do something with a purpose, with an impact. So that's the reason, because we are using another keyword, is workation. So it's like work, but at the same time also holidays, and at the same time remote working, because nowadays many people can work remotely, especially if we speak about also the young generation. Another word is a contamination. What we normally do is like we use spaces, also the regeneration project, as a platform for relationship. So we are using the process where we invite people from all around the world. There is no limits anymore. And for example, through the project the co-living is a kind of B&B. So people, they pay to come to stay in our space. But like at least once per month, we invite a specific organization or person that we like a lot, and we ask them to live with us. So they are our guests, free guests. But the thing is always to share what they know, to share their competencies. And this can create a good platform for contamination. At the same time, the methodology that we work is always about connecting. So what is important is to connect urban with rural. So we are in southern Italy. So even if we are in a town, and as I said before, it's 60,000 of inhabitants, but just out of the town, it's just rural, it's just small, it's all countryside, and then you can find only small villages. So it's very important to create a connection between villages and town, not only to go there on holiday, but to see how we can get some product from the countryside to get in the town, and the opposite, how the village can get some services from the town, and so create again a sharing of services. So the most important part for us is also exploring territories. There are so many interesting places around, and there are so many empty resources. When I speak about empty resources, for example, this is the other project that I'm the president of. It is Wonder Grottole. So Wonder Grottole is based in this village that you can see now. The pictures is around 1,800 people, but there are more than 600 empty buildings. When we speak about empty buildings, especially in this project with you, is about new opportunities. But normally, when we speak about new opportunities, people think only about tourism. So for me, for us, tourism is just an opportunity. It's not only a way to get the money, but it's a way to get new people, so new ideas, fresh ideas, new vision, new perspective in a village that normally it doesn't see other part of the culture. They see things only through the problem point of view. We would like to have new people so they can change the point of view and see maybe the problem as a new, let's say, opportunities for developing new projects. So we work with the word leading culture. That means that is the culture that is still activate in the village. So at the moment, if you go to Grottole, there are families, they still produce wine, they still produce oil, they still produce terracotta. And this is for us a living culture because there are still people. It's not a museum. It's not something that is, still in the past. It's not just about tradition. We can work with them to produce something new. So connecting to tourism and connecting also to local experiences, of course, there is the part of where local people can share their knowledge, teach someone else. And there are people from all around the world that they want to come to experience something that is very, very unique. About the impact that we can create when we produce something that is nice, the people that feel that it's okay. At the same time, we can also create a new wellness and personal growing through traveling. So it means that, for example, these are pictures where the local community, they are together because we clean the village like during the weekend, some weekends, because we try to, now we grow in the beauty, in la bellezza. So that's very important. So everyone wants to be involved because when we have new people that come to the village to feel proud, you want to share, you want to show something that's very beautiful and clean. So Wonder Grottole, this is a pictures that put together, and this is one of the suggestions. What are, the essential step for developing a new regeneration project? For sure, is to map the abandoned houses or the building that you have around. But the most important is also to map the resources, the competencies, everything that is around your space, because these will become the key people for the development and success of your project. So when we speak about regeneration, we speak about territorial development because we always work with a vision. So it's not just about thinking about what is the meaning for the building, but what is the meaning of this building in the entire area. What can be, as I said before, I use this word about platform. I think our space needs to become platform for relationship, for new connection between not only local, but also the global point of view. And so this is one of the main important projects that we developed in 2019, the most successful campaign. It was a campaign sustained by Airbnb. The project was called the Italian Sabbatical. We were looking for 5 volunteers coming during the summer to live with us for 3 months. And we got 280,000 of applications. It was the giant success from all around the world. So we got 5 people from the States, from Australia, from Canada, from Argentina, that they came and they lived for 3 months during the summer with the local population. So, this is also about how to get and to make it more attractive. So, article, attractive, and so people decide to stay. So in general, what is important is also we work a lot engaging the local community. So working also on civic activism, as I said before, cleaning, but also, drawing, connecting, regenerating connecting also green areas, and also transforming green areas in places for relationship, and not thinking as a normal, just the garden as a garden, but especially to open up new opportunities, to think about the green as an outdoor activities for families, not only for adults or for kids, but for everyone. And also think about, and this is also in general, when we speak about space, let's think about the multifunctionality of the space. I'm an architect, so this is something that for me helped me a lot. But when I see an house in Grottole, I don't see it only as a B&B. I can see different things inside. So my suggestion is also to look after what the place needs. This is the last picture that I want to share. We started 2 years ago, the first community apiary. So this is a special place. It didn't exist. In this case, the space to regenerate was an old olive orchard. So, and we had Rocco Filomeno, there is the beekeeper of the village of Grottole. So together we developed this space, and now this space became a place for the wellness, because people can go in and they can breathe some enzyme produced by the bees, and at the same time they can experience all the production of honey. And so this becomes also a new, let's say, special place for the community, because it was also sustained by a crowdfunding campaign. And so they feel very proud. And nowadays there are many people from all around the world that they are happy tourists, that they come because they are just interested about this stuff. Okay, so in general, just to sum up, what is very important, for example, if we speak about Grottole, is for us the village is at the center. So this is about like the place, the platform, but then we have the communities of people, we have the countryside, because we can never forget, especially if we speak also about rurality, about the countryside. It's not something that is apart, but everything needs to be connecting. And then never forget all the digital space, let's say, because it's still part of our life. So when we speak about space, it's not only what is physically there, also what is digital. Okay, I will be here for continuing the discussion later.
There are many points to start from in your presentations. You did everything, and that's amazing. But thanks again. And really also, while you hear the presentations, if any kind of question come up to your mind, just write it down in the chat. I already see some, but I'll answer later, if okay for you. And maybe it's now turn of Galin. So from Veliko Tarnovo, Galin from TAM. Galin, just let me know if you want to share your presentation, or instead I can, because I have it. So you just tell me.
Yeah, this will be great. I was gonna say that I'm not very experienced with Zoom calls and showing presentations. This is actually our first presentation ever we made. Wow. Unfortunately, I thought that we sent the Bulgarian version of it because it was made for some partners here in Bulgaria, but you will see our cool typography made by our graphic designer and some pictures. So I'll speak along the presentation and give you some idea about what we do. So while you're looking for the presentation, I can quickly present our organization. Basically, we're coming from the clubbing scene. You know, everything right from the beginning with us was related to music, parties, concerts, having fun. You know, like we decided to open a space that we wanted to be also self-sustainable. We did not want to rely on any grants at the beginning, because we wanted to create something that definitely the town needs it. So 8 years afterwards, we're coming to this moment of the picture you're seeing, and this is our first festival, community festival we organized, that is called 48 Hours Varusha South. So Varusha South, it's the are located in these days, and when we moved to this neighborhood, we decided that we want to meet with our neighbors because the previous place was a bit more remote from living areas, and there was no problem with the noise. But living in a neighborhood where people also live, have hostels and so on, we have to be like nice to the neighbors and not making much noise. So we wanted to make sure when we make the noise, they'll get back to us instead of calling the police. And we invite at that moment, you know, like first suggestion for working on Erasmus Plus project comes to us by Italian team, you know, like based in Milano, Project Space. They come to us on an email and they say, we want to work with you. We saw some of your activities. And here we are, we come into the neighborhood, and the project is all about that, you know, like meet your neighborhood, rethinking, revitalizing. So, you know, like very good coincidence that actually gave us some opportunity to work with people who have similar experience from other countries. There is no need to explain about the Erasmus Plus, you all know the benefits of it. And we made an open call, and we invited people to come and kind of like work with us for 2 years and think of how to rethink and revitalize the neighborhood. 40 people appeared, so we decided, you know, like we cannot say to the people, okay, you want to come to this process, but, you know, like you're far too many. So we got all the people on board. We managed to hire also like group psychologists. So we had someone to guide the groups because we didn't know how to deal with 40 people at the same time and having to be sufficient and get out of what they need. And when everybody came up with a solution and ideas, we decided, okay, guys, you know, like you have amazing ideas. Let's do something that it's applies to many people. And we did our first event of 48 hours Borussia South, where we had 53 events in 48 hours, and suddenly over 6,000 people turn up to this festival. So, you know, like the festival, we realized that could be used as a tool, not only uniting the community, but also implementing, you know, like the political will of the residents of this neighborhood to the authorities. You know, like you have to have an idea that the authorities in Bulgaria, especially in Veliku Târnovo, and the residents and non-government organizations that still don't have that well-established models of communicating together and kind of like putting things together and deciding what could happen. So, you know, like this visibility of the activities of the people and the fact that the festival grew up so big put us all in a position where if we kind of come up with a solution and, you know, like some common knowledge and will, we can implement it to the municipality by art and public activities. You know, like the festival, it's not only fun, you know, like we have a lot of community events. We have a lot of like architects and urbanists interventions and lectures and debates. We also have like high-end art. For example, the beginning of the presentation with those pictures with the form, it's the performance of Mikhail Mikhailov that was representing Bulgaria on the Venice Pavilion, the Bulgarian Venice Pavilion the year before. So, you know, like we also try to put everybody in a common context, you know, like the just people doing something with kids in the neighborhood and well-established artists working together and collaborating. Of course, you know, like this process now has been going on. It's our third issue of the festival this year. And last year we had everything doubled. The program doubled, the participant doubled, and the visitors doubled. So you can see here some pictures of our values about, you know, like art as a compass of social change, you know, like creative and active communities of neighbors, and, you know, like also architecture and urbanism, as we are the oldest neighborhood in Veliku Târnovo. And we have a lot to do with the past and the future and the present, because, you know, like there is a lot of derelict buildings, you know, like all these issues that old cities have as challenges to present and develop at the same time. So there are, you can slide on the next, further on the presentation, just to show you one more slide, please. You know, something, more slides. Yeah, this is our partners. We managed to engage. For example, last year, the festival cost 70,000 euro, and only 20% were from the municipality. The rest of the money we managed to get in a sponsorship with big businesses and, you know, engaging some local small studios and people and stuff. So the next slide shows what has happened with our activities since we started. So this was this abandoned, the black and white pictures, this abandoned old house in the beach of Veliku Trnovu, on the river of Veliku Trnovu. And this place, you know, like some of the old people in the neighborhood said, but you know, in the old days was so nice. We had a beach on the river and people had access to it. We were going there. So one of the projects we did was to revitalize the beach area, and you can see what it was before and what it looks now. You know, like people go there and socialize, they do yoga, they renovate the house itself also. So it's now usable. The next slide shows also other activities related to the festival. And basically, the busiest road in the town passed through our neighborhood, and people are always super stressed to walk on these slow pavements, small pavements on the side of the road. And we managed to make this revolution and actually close the street for the festival and make it into kind of a pedestrian street. And people just take out their furniture from home and put it on the street and so on. So we did it on both issues of the festival, and it was like completely different way of people to experience their own environment and town. So the next slide, please. Yeah, so when we did the beach, we realized that there was an old street called Kraj on the whole river bank that was completely absorbed by the nature and completely taken out of the mental map of the people living in this town. So with a bunch of architects and urbanists, we managed to clear some of the areas, and also with the help from the municipality, because we already got now the municipality very interested in what they do. So they try to help as well. So they cleared the road, and we brought back this forgotten street into the infrastructure of the city. So the next slide. So because there is a lot of cultural heritage in our neighborhood and very limited resources in our organization, we wanted to encourage the people to somehow, you know, like work with the architecture, work with the heritage, but also we do as much as our you know, like resources are. So we made this community activities of renovating old doors. So basically we just go and find a door we like, we knock on people's door and say, guys, yeah, do you want to give us the chance to renovate your door? At the beginning they're a bit suspicious. What do you want to sell to us? And we are just, no, nothing, we just like your door and we want to preserve it. And actually some of the doors people were super embarrassed and they're like, no worries, we're gonna change them anyway. I said, no, this is actually something that we want to show you what it could look like. And if you decide that it's not good, then you can change it. And that's how we managed to, you know, like do a good campaign and involve many people in doing this renovation. So, and save a couple of doors already. The next slide. It is, yeah. So no, the previous one, please. This is the, yeah. The doors, yeah, the next one, it's the little amphitheater we made. So basically there was this like ruins of the house on the black and white pictures. And we also wanted to use this square as a, you know, like bring back the life into it, because it was like an empty square, nothing was happening. And then one of the guys living in the neighborhood says, oh, but you know, I have the skills as a carpenter. I want to build a little amphitheater here. But of course, we didn't have the resources. And we noticed that the archaeological museum in the neighborhood, it's changing its windows and doors. So we managed to convince them that we want their rubbish to be taken away by us. And with the old windows and doors, the guy create these little platforms, and now the space is also another space for cultural activities in the neighborhood. And the next slide shows the economical impact of like our project and the festivals we did. So for 2 years, like from being a super abandoned place on that side that, as I said, the road is very busy, so it's super noisy. It's a bit outside from the main float of people in town, the living people in town, like it's a touristy area, but, like having a business and relying only on tourists is very tricky. Because, like you cannot build regular customers. And since we moved there are new 15 businesses, 7 art studios, 5 contemporary art galleries, 4 public spaces, as I show you, with the square and the beach and some other places being revitalized and used as activities, 2 international art residencies, and 1 online media for the news of the neighborhood. So this is what was the impact of the festival, and this, like meetings we managed to gather with the neighbors when we first moved to the neighborhood have created. And what is the next slide? Yeah, and it will get better. That's what it says. Se podobrește stava. So our festival this year is 16-18 of August. And also it's going to have a very diverse and interesting program, plus a lot of new work processes with the neighborhood and the city itself. So thank you very much. Yeah, if you want to join the festival, just call me. This is what it says on the last slide.
Okay, thanks a lot. That also was very, very interesting. I'm trying to stop sharing screen, just a moment. Okay, it worked. Well, I guess we also had another speaker that maybe is going to join. I think maybe she has some unforeseen issues, okay? But maybe she'll join while we talk. So I just suggest we really start with some Q&A, but even considerations you as participants might have on what you just heard. I see that in the chat already there was one question from Annie on mapping, let's say, the territories, territory buildings and spaces, and then Andrea, you answered that basically all buildings were mapped, both public and private. That's very interesting as a point also for Place Out, because when mapping abandoned places, we had this doubt, shall we map private spaces, and to what extent? So maybe we can also start just sharing some words on this, because I guess this is interesting for more than just me and Danny.
I can, should I start? Because
if you want
to say, yeah, I can share our experience. So if I think about this question, because I already answered. So my, let's say, story with mapping, it's a long story, because I don't know, I'm part of the generation that we use the app to map the abandoned building. There was this trend about having a startup of app for mapping abandoned building, and then creating community and project to connect buildings with projects. And so I can say I started to map buildings in 2009, something like that. Like I map also more than 10,000 of buildings all around Basilicata, the region around where I live. And then what is important, so about the empty building or spaces in general, I think this is a good question if they are private or they are public. But this is just important because, if it's public, you have one stakeholders. If they are private, you have other stakeholders. Having different stakeholders, it creates different opportunities, but a different also procedure, like steps to reach these people. Because, for example, if I think about Grottole, as I said before, we have more than 600 empty or, let's say, abandoned building or underused building also. And most of the time, the most difficult part to get to the stakeholders, so to the owners, is to know who is the owners, because most of the people, they don't live anymore in the village, and most of the people, they don't know who are the owners. So even if you go to the municipality, you ask the details and information about the owners, they don't know either. So what we have to create is an informal map. So we ask people around this village to say, hey, do you know who is the owners? And they start to say, yes, it's the cousin of this friend of mine that lives in that city. So this is also an opportunity for me, because when I see these things, it is about creating new connection, new relationship, and you start to know all the community of people from the village, but also connecting to the village. But on the other side, I can say that it is completely not sustainable, because no one will pay for your work. You will take a lot of time to do that. And there are many times that you, at the end, you don't know who is the real owner. And when you get to the owner, maybe the documents of the building are not the right one, or they are not connected. So they are not correct. So most of the time you can't use the building because of the wrong documents, or because you don't have the right information. About the public building on the other side, even if it's easier, because most of the time they know if it's public or not, the most difficult part then is to get or the money to restore the building, or to get the building because maybe the municipality, it doesn't go along with you or your project or with your idea. So it's not so easy. Let's say spaces in general I can share are not an easy issue. Wherever it doesn't matter, like the success of your initiative, the sustainability of your initiative in general, it is a mess. Okay.
But thanks a lot, Andrea. And I guess, like also from our experience in Place Out, in many cases, you also map places that in the end cannot be used because it will cost too much to really restore them. And in some other projects, I also saw that somehow the places were used as symbolic places. So you don't really use, but maybe you organize things around the building or between buildings. So somehow you make a place, okay, but not the urban regeneration meaning of it, I would say. Okay, so you somehow make it relive with some activities that might be regular, temporary, even without the possibility of really restoring physically some buildings that cannot maybe be restored without big investments. No? So absolutely, that's the point. I don't know, Chiara, Galin, about that. I know that in some cases, like in one of Folleton, that the places were also trails. No, so it's really also about rediscovering not buildings, but really spaces that had a function before and restore it.
Yeah. I was actually thank you that I was actually thinking about that when you were saying not really buildings, but spaces between buildings or important places. And we actually restored during the years a trail that connected two different, the core of Razzuolo, the main square, we cannot really say that is a square, is actually a parking lot, but still, and that goes through the forest and connects to an ancient building that is public right now, and it's unused, but we used to work on the surroundings of that building also for some activities of our festival. And in doing so, maybe I can share you again the screen if you don't mind, Dario, because I prepared a slide about the festival. Yes, about the trail. Sorry, the path. We call it Sentiero Foglia Tonda, and it is actually not very long. It's about 4 kilometers, but we reopened it. It was the people from Brazil used to use it in the past, but then they abandoned it because they didn't use the territory as for cultivating or for feeding animals. But then we reopened it, we cleaned it, we use it for artistic interventions at the core of our festival. And last year we collaborated with an association, it's called Viviamo L'Acu from L'Aquila, from the center of Italy, to install these, let's say, bench made by the visitors of our festival. That is actually the main point where you can sit and get to know about Foglia Tonda, because that's the only point on the trail where the internet connection of your phone works. And this is actually something that the community of Razzuolo also enjoyed during the years. So they rediscovered the trail and used the path just for walks on Sundays, but also to go mushroom hunting, for instance, during the fall. So this is probably something that connects with what you were saying before, space between buildings and making space in abandoned place.
Thanks, Chiara. And then from the presentation of Galen, I really enjoyed also, let's say, the identification of micro places like doors or spaces near the museum, the archaeological museum, for example. No, so you also had somehow, I guess, some kind of informal mapping behind that, no, before activating those kind of actions.
Yeah, we have a mapping, and also what we realized, like we can map everything, but most important is who is emotionally connected to those places we are mapping, because, like to activate the places and make them sustainable, you really need to have not the best beautiful place with a potential, but the place that someone is really in love and enthusiastic to develop it. Because very often, like sometimes people get excited, something sounds romantic or, interesting to get involved. For example, I remember at one point, we were clearing the beach area and a guy said, hey, let's have a community garden. And I was like, oh my God, this is the end of our project. Like I can imagine this community garden, everybody are super excited, planting plants and so on. And then who's gonna water them every day? So for me, it was like, okay, if we have those dead flowers here, they would look really, like not unpleasant and somehow abandoned there. So all summer, every morning, I had to walk my dog to this beach area to water the plants, just to make sure, like our project of cleaning the beach area was not gonna look bad. So, like the next year when someone offered for a community garden, I was like, no, guys, this is not the right place to do it. Like we have to find another place that is somewhere more close to where you live, because last year when you planted, like most of you didn't have the time to come to water it. So, yeah, we're mapping the places, we're mapping the people, and try also to kind of like really balance in between action, mapping, and what's on the on opportunity.
Thank you. I see also Stefano hand on. Please, Stefano.
Hi everybody. I just wanted to follow what Galen was saying, to answer also to Ani about the differences between private and public building mapping. I was noticing that we did not map, of course, all private buildings. The public are all important, but in the perception of everybody, the private places are not all important. So you have the connection with the local, as Galen was saying, emotional connection, or the potential that everybody says in that makes that place, also if it's private, worth to be mapped in at least our place out map that we did, because maybe it's a big hotel in the middle of a village that everybody remember when it was opened, and everybody thinks that if now will be open, it could be a driver of something. That's the very the motivation we choose to map some places and in a private way. In public in the public, more or less all public space that is unused is perceived as a possibility from the community.
Absolutely.
Can I also add? Sorry for that. We managed to buy over 8 houses in the neighborhood because private places, and how we do it, you know, like some of the places we bought it from our team, just to start giving a good example how those old properties could be renovated, as we work with architects as well. Thanks God there are architects that are willing to, you know, like encourage our work and doing volunteering work for us. But also we try to get nice people to live around. So when we have visitors, people come to visit us, it's like start walking them around, introducing them to the neighbors, and they're like, oh my God, it's so nice here. I want to live in this neighborhood. No problem. We have a property for you. Here it is. It's for sale. We put you in touch with the owner. And now we have a lot of good examples. And the more people, also when people come here, because some people come from New York, some people come from Berlin, from all over the world. And when they come here, you know how to make them feel comfortable to stay and want to live here. So we help them to find job, we help them to find girlfriends, boyfriends, houses, everything, you know, like creating for them this like a social hub, which our bar is. And then, you know, like they're helping us in the revitalization of the neighborhood. And yeah, that's what we also do with the mapping, always think how to match with the right people to have their own project.
Thanks. That's also very interesting. And yeah, maybe just to connect all the dots here, I think the difference between public and private spaces also revolves around the concept we shared in the previous webinar of civic asset, isn't it? So no matter if it's private or public, the point is it perceived as a civic asset? If the answer is yes, somehow, even in part, even by a group and not everyone, then maybe it's worth it. So thanks for sharing these experiences. Maybe to somehow re-break the ice, and I start with some very general questions, okay, where you can enter with some more insights on your practice, and I will start really from what are the, I will say, somehow the steps, if you should, because in the next in the previous let's say webinar, we really tried with Riccardo to draw some steps to work. Okay, so I know every story has its own peculiarities. It's very difficult to, and we don't even want to draw a general scheme of action, I would say. Instead, it can be useful to really understand what are the I would say essential steps in initiating a spatial regeneration project. You know, so how, what are the things you shouldn't miss? Let's say when you identify a new place and you want to start transforming it or the surrounding area or the surrounding practices, I would say. Yeah. So of course you come from very different experiences. Okay. Still, I see there are some elements related with the relation with communities, and at the same time working around the theme of attraction. Okay, and then also this somehow trade-off between attraction and local needs. No, so yeah, of course, attraction answers to some of the local needs, can create new issues and challenges, and at the same time there is a connection work, no, platform work you do with everyone, as Galin was saying. Okay, so you start from the house, you continue with girlfriends and friends and and everything. I mean, but there might be very different levels, I would say, of connection. Of course, you work as also people that are these connectors, this kind of connectors. So yeah, very generally, if you have some key steps, you will say, yeah, of course, if you don't do this, it's unlikely it will work. Yeah, let's start with this. I guess it's very general, but it might give some hints.
I can start again. Yeah, so for me, really the essential step, the first one to start with is I mean, if you already have the space, for sure, is to engage the community. So, and when I speak about community, it's not the community general. I mean, maybe you are in a neighborhood, but the community is not only the community around the building, but is the people that they see a potential, they see a value in what is happening. Because maybe there are people that they live in another neighborhood, they want to be part of that process, or people that they have friends or other people they have an interest to be part of the process. So for me, and especially if we think about long-term process, if the community is not so solid from the beginning, that is very difficult to go on, because I can share with all of you the frustration that everyone can feel when something is going on in a wrong way. And so if you feel alone, or if you feel like that you are the only leader of the process, then it's very difficult to face a different part of the process. If you are a community, and maybe also, you know, open up the discussion to other people, it means that maybe are new people that you don't know, new competencies, new energy, a lot of things can come in. So leave the process open from the beginning. I think this is the essential step. And I can tell you from the architectural point of view, because I'm an architect, normally architects think only about the space. I always say, even if the space, the most beautiful word, but there is no community living the space, there is no reason to have a space. Maybe the worst, like the ugliest space, but with a vivid community, then becomes the most beautiful. Especially it becomes a space for new opportunities, for, you know, connecting desire, for new vision. Okay, so this is my first step.
Thanks, it's a big one. And maybe Chiara, Galin, if you have something to share on this. We also have one new question from Thais. Now we take it, but maybe before we close this round. Thanks.
Yeah, I think for us as well, in our experience, the first step was to engage with the community, both the local one, but also all the potential collaborators we could have from the entire valley of Mugello and even further. And that's for sure something that we can suggest as a first step, for sure. And probably also, since we cannot really share an experience of building regeneration per se, as we were saying before, but in terms of attractivity of a specific village, also only through a festival so far, so only a specific event. It was important. It's still something going on for us, for Foglia Tonda, is to being open for other stimuli, for other possibilities coming from the external, from outside the region, to engage even more with the needs of the local community. Yeah, I think that's it. Maybe I can answer later to the other question.
Yeah, but also because there's another question really on the interaction with local communities, very interesting from Thais. So we will take it. So yeah, you restart from there, I guess. Galin, yeah, one step from you. No, you don't. Okay. So meanwhile, maybe I can introduce you to Linda Zarina. I see she joined from Associazione Mora. Hello. Thanks for joining us.
Sorry for the delay, first of all.
No problem. And remember also for everyone, I use this moment also to remember this. It is recorded, so in case you just want also to retake some contents you haven't heard later, we can share the recording with everyone if you ask. Okay, so that's in general for everyone, not only for you, Linda. Nice to meet you. We already had a round of, let's say, good cases shared by Chiara, Andrea, and Galin. we were already in the roundtable phase. Maybe, yeah, just to let you in the roundtable, I would ask you even very brief presentation of what Associazione Imora does and how, in your case, spatial regeneration, so the regeneration of a space, of a building, of an area, it's related with more broad territorial regeneration. Okay, so somehow from your perspective, how your action impacts on that. I remember to everyone, Associación Imora is from Extremadura, okay? So rural Spain, I would say, okay? And we are very glad to have you here. So thanks for joining. And I leave you the floor if that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, very shortly then, we could present our organization. So as you said, we are in the middle of Extremadura, in the countryside. And the project consists of a place that is called La Jarilla, that is the place that is practicing tourism, rural tourism, and non-formal education. Basically permaculture, based on permaculture, sustainability, volunteering. That's the project of the place, and we receive volunteers. If you could put Asociación Imora, there is the right corner, Asociación Imora, because this webpage is together like our website of the hostel, the tourism in rural area, and the non-formal education, the ONG, Asociación Imora, that is international movement back to origin in rural area. Yeah. So that's what exactly Imora does. So we go back to the small things, traditions, or forgotten things, handmade things, and all that stuff that probably for some people is just for old people. But as you can see some photos here, we bring young people to the middle of the nowhere to experiment that, to touch the soil, to touch the compost, to touch some sheep maybe as well, or milk some cows and goats and make stone walls. That's the part of the youth work that we do here in the place La Jarilla. Yeah. So we started 2016, little by little, and we needed to open that place for more people because the place is very big. It was abandoned hostel, youth hostel, and my partner decided to make this project, to reconstruct the place, to open for the tourists. And then 1 year later, we noticed that we need more hands, the help. And that's why we started to open the door for young people for the volunteerings. One line that we work is volunteering service, that is European Solidarity Course right now. Probably you know this program. We make long-term volunteerings and short-term volunteering teams as well, twice a year. And that's when we make the big push and make some bigger stone walls with a lot of hands. And a part of this, we also collaborate with the smaller projects, so like with Junta de Extremadura. We made environmental volunteering, recycling black waters of all the hostel, recycling, like closing circles in you can find in the nature. So we try to reply to these needs in our place as well. I don't know, maybe you know what permaculture, what is compost toilet, what is recycling waters, or bioconstruction or not, but you can see in the pictures more or less what kind of activities we are developing here. Yeah, and I don't know if I have more time or it's for presentation, it's enough.
I would just maybe use the time to know more about your activities, but through questions, okay? So somehow now we have a moment where really all participants share their views and also ask some questions to you and to each other in the end. Okay, so maybe Linda, this was very interesting, and somehow I see that you also bring in a theme related to permaculture and to somehow also reintroducing some circular practices on in an area, I will say, through hospitality and through also international connections. So I mean, there are many different layers that somehow talk with the other cases we just heard before. Okay, so I will take this question that is still pending from Thais. Okay, I don't know, Thais, if you want me to read it instead, if you want to say something on it, it's in the chat anyway. Just tell me, are you still here, Thais? Thais Vargas. Anyway, I read it. Okay, okay. So let's say I can read it. Okay, thank you. Okay, he's asking if, in your experience, how do the original people from these old villages, from rural areas, react to the entering in that area of an international community, coming to live there permanently or just for a period? Okay. And also, yeah, just to know in your experience if they were happy for the opportunity to renew and regenerate the area, counting on more people coming, or instead if they were a little bit scared, reluctant, because they were outsiders, no? So maybe they couldn't understand the traditions and problems of the area. So of course, this kind of clash, it's very interesting for all of practitioners, I would say, in regeneration in rural areas and in small centers in general. So I don't know who wants to take it, but I think it's for you, for all of you can say something on this.
For me, can I?
Please, Linda, absolutely.
Yeah, go. Yeah, I would say in our case, it's very like welcome the practice in our region, in our village, because we have another organizations that already made these steps before us. And it's like 30 years already villages practicing volunteering projects, and so always there international environment in this village. Actually, our village, it's called Placenzuela, and it takes 70% of all European volunteers of Extremadura. So it is like a small place in the middle of the nowhere, but a lot of international movement all the time. So that's what I would say. And even there are some ex-volunteers that are regenerating the population. They stay, they make families, and it's working here for regeneration, also the human regeneration, not just the soil and other kind of regenerations. I'm one of the examples. I'm also ex-volunteer. I'm not from Spain, I'm from Latvia, so, and I'm not the only one. So these projects make good like impact in the rural area, in our place, for example.
But you hide it very well, because Linda is also a Spanish name, no? So I guess. Okay, yeah. Well, it's a joke. Thanks. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Andrea, who wants? Really? Yeah, please, Andrea.
Also, so about us, for example, for the Wonder Grotto, the Regeneration project in the rural village. It's quite tricky, this question, because there is not just 100% answers, because it depends. The population is big, because in our case it's 1,800 of people. I would say that in general, even if we are a private, no-profit organization, then what you do can be seen from different perspectives, because if you have a clear view, of course, it's something that is good with an impact, even if the numbers are not big. But when there are political issues in the middle, then it's always tricky, because from my perspective, also we run other European projects, and I think the political situation is something can change a lot our project. I say that because, for example, we are working in this village where 3 years ago it changed the mayor. Even if we are private and we are self-sustained, So it means that we are not getting public funding for our projects. People can say, you are going along with that person, so you are part of that party, or maybe they just think that you are getting some money from that. So this changed completely the situation. For example, when we got the new mayor, it was actually now 4 years ago, we had the COVID and new mayor the same year, so it was a disaster. And when I said disaster, I said disaster from the relationship point of view, from the community point of view, because if I said before that the community is the first step and the most important, and then the political can change completely this kind of trust between people, then it becomes our like the weak part of the relationship and also project. In general, what we normally do, so this is the answer about this situation, is that we continue to have meeting and workshop with the community. It means that we have an art part of the community that is around 100 people. We are all connecting through a group on WhatsApp. It's called Wonder Grotole Club. There are people that in the last 10 years, they wanted to be involved. They did something for us. They were volunteering. They were engaged, different kind of relation, but people that are really part of the family. And it's very important to continuously having a listening point where people can express themselves, they can give you answers, they can expose their ideas wherever they want to. So I think this is very important. So also the second question about Annie, she was saying, how do you start to manage the communication with the owners to get them on board? In general, like about wherever kind of people you have in front of you, the most important part is to share your vision of the space. So it's the same situation when you start your community. You start to share a vision, and a vision, it means also, let's do something together. This is a vision, like not let's do something like for me. For example, when we started Casa Natural in Matera, the thing was very easy. You know, I was renting my flat because I'm from northern Italy and I moved to southern. So I rent a flat. I had a Wi-Fi. I did a very simple things. I opened up the door and I told to the world, you can use the space as a co-working because Wi-Fi is free for you and you have a space. But like the very impactful action was to open the door. So, and the vision wasn't like, I want to change the world, wherever. I just say, let's come in, let's create something together. Very simple. Okay.
Thank you. And I will say there are some members from the network of Impact Hub here, no? And one key element of Impact Hub is the concept of hosting, that is more than just opening the door, but it starts with opening the door, okay, really, and to be always someone listening to the community around. So
I was one of the founder of Impact Hub in Milan. So
voilà,
that's
okay. So you know, of course, I was sharing with everyone, okay, that in the end, it's again really the concept of hosting that is very deep, applied to multiple levels here, I guess, what you're sharing. So thanks. I don't know on this question, even on the second one of Annie that you answered already, Andrea, if there are reactions from Galin, Chiara, please.
Yeah, but Stefano raised his hand, then I can go.
Go first, no problem.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, maybe I speak for an experience on a completely different scale than Andrea and probably also than Galin. But in terms of engaging with the local community, that was one of our main and bigger problem, if I have to be honest. Also because during the years we discussed as a group on the contradiction of organizing something on a place where we don't live. None of us work or live in Razzuolo at the moment, and that is a big contradiction. But also the festival gives us the opportunity to plan and think about the territory all year long. And what the key we found or I think an inspiration we found lately, let's say, is to speak and to engage with the silent needs of the local community. We discovered after, I think, the third edition of our festival that the open air cinema we organized one night was actually something that the population of Razzuolo, the 70 people, were waiting for so long. They didn't have anything similar. That was that night the two movies we showed were very populated. Most of the population of Razzuolo came for the cinema. That was something unexpected, but also very nice to see. And the same thing happened for the local market. We usually organize a local market with local producers coming from the entire region, let's say, to sell food and products, and that's something that Razzuolo misses, and that is a necessity, a need that they probably don't express, and through our festival, let's say that is a tool we used for engaging with the community. It's not something that is structured or permanent, but is something that can help also being a reference for even the institutions, the municipality itself, and saying, look, we are talking with the community, they need this, they need a doctor every week to make appointments, and okay, we organize a festival, but we can also talk about these things with the network we have.
Thanks. I think this element also of using the festival as an excuse to prototype potential answers to untapped and even unsaid needs, it's very interesting. Thank you, Chiara. Maybe some words from Galin too. You've been waiting till now. You're muted, Galin, please.
Yeah, we have a lot of foreign people living in Vellico Tarnovo, and this has been going on for many years now. So we never had any challenges of kind of getting involved, people who are coming to either help with projects, or they come here to perform, or they come here to buy a house and live around. I think we never experienced any challenge on that direction, so I cannot really give any solutions. If someone has this situation, what he could do.
Perfect. That's also very interesting, because somehow that draws a parallel with the case of La Jarilla, meaning that there's already an experience of let's say, a foreigner community, and so somehow there's also an habit that has been created of interacting and really opening up. So I think that's very interesting. And I see a parallel there. Okay. There was one comment from Marina, but I don't think that's a question, the wow factor. Okay, meaning that I think that relates to the beauty of what you do, and the fact that by itself it has a value, and it attracts not only from outside, but I guess also from inside. But that's something I think, Marina, that's what you wanted to say with that. But in case, just integrate. I think that was more of a comment. Yeah, maybe if there aren't other questions in the chat, I remember there was Stefano with its hand on.
Yes, just I wanted to continue about the relation between international or national communities with local communities in rural areas. From a perspective of local development, normally the communities, the organization that regenerate spaces are intermediate the relation between, has to intermediate the relation between the people coming for a temporary period and the people stay in a territory, because the alternative normally is to this intermediation is the tourism for rural areas in Europe is intensive tourism, or is no person from outside coming. So both these options are not the best option, and I wanted to point out that you can reactivate a place, for example, with an offer only for tourists or only for international community. That maybe is not regeneration connected with local communities and with local development. It's hard for this kind of organization, youth organization, or any kind of organization have relation with local communities and both with international communities and make them speak with each other. But this is a function that often also, without knowing, it's on this kind of organization that regenerate place and is a driver of local development if you do well. So always this kind of organization needs to have this double attention, and sometimes for someone it's more difficult to speak with local because, as Chiara maybe was saying, sometimes it's more difficult to speak with the national or international communities, but the local development of the area pass from the connection of both, I think.
Thanks, Stefano. Fully agree. And I see also Marta hand raised. Please, Marta.
Hello, it's Marta from Huazocop, from Extremadura also. I would like to ask a general question to the panelists that is coming from a reflection of all the presentations, and also with our experience with Place Out, that is about the challenges, if it is something that you have, that I guess that you have been reflected on this in your pathway in developing your projects. Because when we speak about these temporary people in the communities, for example, here in Extremadura, in Spain in general, we have a problems with the houses. If you go to a small town, it's impossible to rent a house. And there is another part that if you want to be, member of the community and you want to stay, it's impossible to get a mortgage to buy a house. Or if you are an entity, for example, you are a non-profit organization, forget that you are going to get a mortgage or something to buy your own space. So at the very end, the people who is working in public administration are the only ones who are in charge of this, because in the professional side, they are the local institution, and in the personal side are the only ones who are allowed to buy a house, a second-hand house, or these kind of things. Have you faced these kind of situations in your trajectory? It's a difficult question.
Who takes
Maybe.
it? So it's about I put it shorter. Martin, you tell me if that was somehow what you wanted to touch. I guess it is about the issues related to accessing a space from a property point of view, okay, in these places, especially if you are somehow let's say, already recognized kind of actor from the financial system also, no? On one side.
Only in Spain, if you are a civil servant, working in the administration is the only chance you have. If you are, private sector, forget it.
And one specific thing I should maybe share here from also the research we did in Place Out is that Extremadura specifically is kind of a peculiar place, because it's a rural area where there is quite kind of a difficulty to access to buildings. Okay, there's scarcity of that. When I reading that, I was kind of surprised, because if I think about internal rural areas of Italy, it's full of buildings that are rented for, are sold for very, very low. So that's, I think, a very typical issue of Extremadura. Yet, what you're saying, it's also relevant for others, because in the end, the point really is, if you are a youth grassroots organization and you want to use a space, to activate a space, to own a space, what are the challenges you face? So I think in Extremadura, it's harder for sure, but I think that applies also to other contexts. So please, I don't know who wants to take it. I know Galin you bought some buildings, you shared that, so I don't know on that.
Yeah, we only deal with rich people.
Okay.
That was a joke. No, I mean, like here in Veliko Trnovo, you can still find places on reasonable price. Of course, the market is going crazy all over Europe. But for example, we just bought a small residency for artists for 17,000 euros. And of course, we didn't have the money as organization, but for the 12 years of experience, there are a lot of people around us who always excited to support us. Like, for example, we have a Patreon page, people donate regularly. And sometimes also we have friends with well-established businesses and work, and we can ask them to help us of okay, give us this loan. So what we did, we bought the place because we weren't obliged to buy it on a mortgage. So we bought the place, and then when we had it, we managed to put it on the bank to get the money to pay back. So we do some kind of this sort of things, but in general, also rents are not that high in Veliko Trnovo. We sometimes pair people together. Let's say we have on a big apartment we found for rent and it's too much for one person to pay. So we get 2 or 3 people that we will know it will get on together to rent this space. So we do that sort of things. But there is always a solution, and especially in rural areas. I mean, if we talk about New York and London, living in zone 1, there are a lot of challenges. But I think when we talk about rural areas, there are different challenges and maybe cheaper solutions to them.
Thank you.
Yeah, in our case, I can tell you, for example, that the building in Matera, I bought it personally. So I did a mortgage to buy the building. And then we host the cooperative paying a rent. Okay, so I can pay the mortgage. So this is one thing because it was the only way to get the mortgage from the bank. On the other side, for example, in Grottole, because the buildings are not very expensive, we bought the building and then we invest our money. So at the beginning, for the first 4 years, we invest all the money that we got instead of paying the for example,
as cooperative, not as in this case.
Yeah, it's a cooperative, and we had also donation. But then, in Grotto, the thing is not having the space. The higher cost are renovation because the costs are very low, but the renovation is what is more expensive. Okay.
I see. Thank you.
And well, I don't know to what extent the question applies to Fogliatonda, but maybe they apply to Associazioni Mora. So yeah, maybe the question also for you, Linda.
Yeah, I just would like to add, in our case, it is also similar, maybe like in Andrea's case, that the business place is related with the organization. The place where we develop like a lot of incomes as a family, as a small community, we add this value of the association's activity. So that's the formula that we could find how to survive it, like small entity in the rural area. So yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks, Linda. Chiara, really, I don't know if you had some words on this. Not, I suppose not.
No,
but
thank you. It doesn't really apply to us.
I guess that, yeah. But I see Milena hand on. Hi, Milena.
I also would like to share a little bit of experience. It's actually not our experience. It's again from Galin. I heard it during one of his presentations. So they're doing also kind of a combination of the needs of different stakeholders, different parties which are interested. So, for example, renting a place from one person, but also using it for different purposes, like for a gallery, but at the same time, part of the place it's used for Airbnb. So it's providing different funding, like a business initiative, and sharing the terrace with a coffee shop nearby. So it's really looking more on when you have a problem, looking from different perspectives, how you can actually solve the problem and find more money in order to have the solution. So I really like this part of his presentation when he was explaining how they support small initiatives in Veliko Trnovo in order to find a solution for their problems. And another thing I remember, which was super, again, I was super enthusiastic. It's their friend who decided to make, he wanted to make a small gallery, but he was a little bit afraid to start and to pay the rent, even if the rent wasn't so high. I mean, at least it's not so high like in the other countries in Europe. So it wasn't a big investment, but for a private person to invest and to make a gallery, it's still a big initiative. Friends, they just decided, okay, we will support you with a small donation in the next 6 months. Each of us is ready to donate, I don't know, 20 euro, 30 euro. It's really not a big amount of money. But as we are a group of 20 people, we stand behind you. And in case your gallery is not, your initiative is not running really well, you know that we are going to support you. And that is, I think that is the point when actually you start to believe in your initiative and when you see the support of the others. So that was those two examples I wanted to share.
Thank you, Milena. And this helps me somehow also connecting with almost last question I would make. And it is about really the economic impact of these activities. So Andrea at the beginning was talking about having a mixture of functions, not only to answer needs, but also to search as much as possible for economic viability, okay? And somehow, funny enough, that applies also to big urban regeneration project when they talk about the mixité of uses, no? So there's a parallel there. What I would like to ask you is, what is, I would say, self-evaluation in terms of economic impact you had, and what are some key factors you feel, key elements that contributed to eventually success on this matter you had? Okay, so I will just have a round on this, and then I have another question if there aren't other on politics, but we will go there. So yeah, again, I don't know who wants to take it really, but let's say in the short answer, a short question is, if you should describe the economic impact you had with the activity on the community and in the place, what would it be?
In our case in Veliko Trnovo, there is a big economical impact. It's related not only to the festival, but in this never-ending marketing, bringing people over. Just for the record, for the last year, we had 147 events made outside any festivals and community activities. This is just something that we made in our own space. So it attracts many people from everywhere, and it brings some of them to settle down in Veliko Trnovo. Also, our organization is one of the main employee for independent artists and art professionals in our town. So also about the project, I mentioned to you that we find properties that other people could buy and settle down. 200,000 euro plus are coming into these projects every year related only to this property game we play. And also, as Milena explained, we have a lot of consulting activities to organization and artists how to make their activities sustainable on the business scale, because we all know the challenges on working on projects full time. You know, like it could be really exhausting of running from one deadline to another and following some time schedules and so on. So we always try to kind of balance in between and give people the opportunity to also find other solutions, because you know, you don't want when you lose a project application to the end of your life, you know, like you think, okay, there is other solutions. Let's go further on business model, and then we get back into track of Erasmus Plus program.
Thanks, Galin. Thanks for the very concrete also examples. And yeah, maybe, I don't know who wants also to maybe say some few words on this.
Yeah, I'll just share maybe very few words on our experience that is, again, on a very smaller scale, but we tried, and we tried for all the editions to involve in the network of our festival all the activities that are spread around the territory. So we usually suggest to our guests and participants to go and sleep, eat into local hotels, local producers, and that already has an impact on the network, or on the activities that are in a very not attractive area, let's say, in terms of tourism, and what also the two circoli, the two buildings that are our point of reference in the two villages. So in Razzola and Casaglia, there are two, let's call them bars, but they are not really bars. They are managed by local people, by volunteers, and those are actually the places where the participants to the festival can buy drinks and coffees, for instance. So those are actually gaining from our festival an income that is for sure 10 times the usual customer numbers they have. So yes, that's our small but also successful impact I can share with you in terms of our activities.
And that, thanks, Chiara, and that relates also to the concept of territorial experiences that somehow you can promote through events. And I think those kind of experiences both relate to the experience of Imora, for sure, with volunteers, for example, and the short and long-term residents, but also with the Airbnb, for example, example you were sharing before, Andrea, and others, of course. So maybe Linda, I saw you raise your hand before, and then maybe Andrea, some few words also on this point. Please, Linda.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to add, in our case, the economy, it is not just the money. A lot of work is based on volunteering work, as I imagine, in a lot of entities. And economic part, I could agree with Chiara that we also send volunteers, go to this place and let's buy bread in the local bakery. And as a negative point for volunteers, but for us it's a positive point, that there is no public transport almost here in this region. And so they explore what we have, so they don't have other choice. And that for us, for the local economy, it's the good thing, right? For the volunteers, sometimes there is no transport, but you knew where. Not just money, what else? international environment. We learn languages, our children learn, our people from the village, they are not afraid from foreign people and the social impact and all these kind of values, or even that we are producing in the garden, some kind, if it is balanced. At the end, all these activities, these values make the basis of the activity generally, not just money, it's just one part. So there, just this point of view. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea.
Yeah, so about the activity, yeah, as I said before, like the economic contribute to sustain the different kinds of projects, of course, it's about hospitality. The majority of the project comes from the hospitality, especially in Matera. The second part is that what we have been learned from the different experience and also prototype that we develop, we are now giving out our services, like our experiences as services. So we started through the cooperative to start projects for other people. So we are supporting like consultants for regeneration places or starting new projects. So we are selling our competencies and giving services to other association, organization. We have been involved in different projects with Bando Borghi in Italy from the ministry. And also, for example, now we just opened a second Casa Netra in Gorizia in another place, in another town in Open Italy. And so, you know, different things are happening, but because from what we learned and because of the experience, now we can, let's say, scale a bit what we are doing in our places. Also because this was one of the goals of our organization. How can we pay and create job for the people that were always involved? Because as Linda or the others, they were before me, they told me a lot of people, they stay in our project in a volunteer basis, but the people, they wanted to have this as a job. So this is also an opportunity to create a different kind of job that for other people is not a job, for us it's a job.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's also interesting to see somehow the different timescales you had in your, let's say, histories, no? So someone started in 2016, some others in 2009. So I guess also the degree of, let's say, stabilization, I would say, of some activities or scale up depends also a lot on that. And I guess having the strength to be continuous in time might also help structuring more what you do as a job, as you're saying, Andrea, or in general as a economically rentable service and offer in general.
Yeah, also from what we learn, for example, for 2 years in 2002, 2022, 2023, we launched a European project called Open School for Village Host. And the Village Host is really like the professional skills that professionals should have to create a project of regeneration in rural areas. So, for example, there also, if you are interested to see other people that they are already on the platform, or you can join if you like. But this is still because from the lesson learned by the practice, we would like to share more and more what we have learned. And also because I think what we do in rural areas is really a profession. And if people, they don't see as a profession, then they don't trust you. This is also the thing, and they don't give you money for the time that you spend on the territorial development.
Absolutely, and I think also trust there, it's a key factor. Maybe we have talked through here and there, and maybe applied also to my last question. I'm not sure I'm doing the last question because it's already 18, okay? But I leave it on the floor just for a quick reaction in case, okay? And it is, you all interacted with institutions with what you do, no? So maybe one point could be how you feel policymaker and stakeholders in general can better support and promote grassroots-led spatial regeneration. So what is the most important thing an institution can do for you Yes, I know it's a big question. Just quick reaction on this. Sorry, we are late.
For us, maybe it was the best thing that institutions could do and can still do is to making space for us in terms of what we can do, where we act, and also supporting us for receiving economical funds since we are mainly auto-financed. And yeah, it's also in reverse. What we can do for institution is being a reference point, as I tried to say earlier, a reference point on about the topics we want to talk about, and being yeah, the person to speak with when we talk about rural and mountain areas in our region.
Thank you, Andrea.
Yeah, also from my point of view, I think what they should give us is a space for listening to our needs, and to try to support us in getting these needs a reality. Because most of the time they produce something that are not satisfying our needs, and so they do just things because they have to spend money or because there is a particular law. So I would like to have a continuously conversation, especially because of the impact of our action. And also because if we are projects with a value on the territory, they should ask us how to drive also some special law or, you know, some financial support or other things.
Clear and so true, I would say. Oh, Linda, Galin, some last reactions on this? Just tell me.
For me, like working with institutions is something fairly new. So I'm still very curious and excited to learn out how it functions, you know, like not only the institution itself, but also the dialogue between the non-government sector and institutions. But one thing that I can definitely see from my experience so far, that the institutions are not the authorities that hold the knowledge anymore. So, you know, like somehow when I was growing up as a small child, you know, like you kind of like think of the city gallery, you think of the National Gallery, you think of the National Theater. I don't know how it's in other countries, but in Bulgaria, most of those institutions are totally irrelevant to up-to-date movements in arts and need of community. So, you know, like when I realized that, we suddenly became in a different position of like where we are there to support and enrich the work of the institutions. So I remember, you know, like before going to some meetings with authorities, I always felt pretty uncomfortable because I don't know what is the protocol, what do I have to say, what do I have to wear. And then after a few meetings, as I realized it's all about the protocol, but nothing comes as a content usually. And it helped me coming to these meetings and doing this dialogue in a completely different way, where I know that we as a community have something to put on the table. It's not about only the financial resources or the infrastructure or the position. And since that, the dialogue, it's really like going, okay, not with the speed of light as I first expected, but you know, like it goes in a way that satisfies me. Of course, there are challenges every day. But then, you know, like I just decided that I would look on my work and the work of the community as important as the authority, and always like try to ask them to give as much as we can put on the table. I don't want them never to put them in a position of being dominated in some of our work and activities. If we put something, we expect you to just put equal thing. Very often we actually put more on the table. And I think it's the way we want to work, because the community has it all. It's just about facilitation. It's just about communicating. And, you know, as we as Linda mentioned earlier, it's not only about the money, and like we create economy on many other aspects that are there to help the authorities. So to make it short, we don't want to give them more than what we're giving to them. Let's put it like that, equality.
That was a great short answer, and I would say even a claim we can take as a lesson, I would say. The name of association, Thais, it's maybe we can even add a link here in the chat of the association. I just take it. So I share it, Thais. I see Thais is asking again, maybe arrived a little bit later about your organization. So we share it in the chat. Yeah, Thais. Maybe while I do this, I saw that also Linda was ready to react on that. So please.
Shortly, I don't want to complain, but it's hard to communicate with institutions here for us, for example, in our case, because the field where we are working, it is permaculture, and a lot of times it is what? This is like you're talking another language. So it is hard to explain this kind of practices, sustainable practices that are little by little coming in our society, but still not so common. For example, because our place is a public place, for every activity we have to inform the institution and to ask permission for that. If we need to build some compost toilet, we need to ask the permission. Yeah, and if, for example, the last question from the institution is, and the water in the compost toilet, it is a dry toilet, as you know, maybe you know. So it is hard to explain our needs for institutions sometimes to be understood. And so it is like fighting and fighting, explaining. And now there is a new persons in the institution, so new hope, and never give up. Yeah, so step by step.
Thanks, Linda. And I think with this personal experience of interaction with institutions, we are obliged to close the call because it's already 2 hours now, but it has been, at least for me, so enriching and interesting. So I thank you all, to all the speakers, but also to everyone that attended. I maybe leave the floor to Stefano for just to say next webinars or not. You just
remember that we have the next webinar.
Okay.
The next week is about project design for European EU call, also for its thought for non-experienced youth grassroots organizations. So it's going to be an interesting occasion. So spread the voice if you can to other organizations, because it's going to be an introductory webinar, 4 hours this time. So it's going to be important effort, but we are going to learn a lot of things about the participation to European framework call to get funding for our activities on the territory. Thank you.
Thanks, Stefano. Thank again to everyone. Andrea, Chiara, Linda, Galin first. And all
bye-bye. Ciao.
Goodbye.
Grazie.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Ciao, everyone.